What's up, peeps? My name's Ian. I sell books on eBay, and today I haven't sold many books on eBay. 7 orders going out: 5, 10, 14, 17, 22, 27, about 28 books in total over 7 orders. Not a massive sales day yet again, but you have good days, you have bad days, and that's what we've all just got to remember. Also, Bradley in the comments from yesterday was suggesting I talk a little bit about my goals, targets for the coming year. So I thought I might do a wee bit of that as well, because it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately, trying to work out exactly where this business model can go. So maybe have a wee chat about that as well as we go along. And at least one person might be interested in that. So that'll do. Anyway, let's look at a couple of orders, and then I'll start talking nonsense for a wee while. Sound good? Right, okay. First order of the day is everybody's favourite, Lee Child. 5 Lee Child paperbacks. I've got hardly any Lee Child left at the moment. I really need to find some. There's not been that many about, but we've got The Sentinel, if I can pick it up, 61 Hours, Blue Moon, I Saw You Standing Alone, Worth Dying For, and Better Off Dead. So 5 Lee Child paperbacks, and they sold for £13.74. So Lee Child, always a goer, always, always, always. The next, the only single book of the day that I've got going out, and it is I Ching or Book of Changes. So this is Fifth Impression from 1973. It's in pretty good condition for its age. I mean, it's a year older than me, you know. So 51 years old, there or thereabouts. And that sold for $23.99. So I just picked that up, I think, at the weekend. So that's a nice wee single sale. Certainly brought the average up for the day. Right, let's have a look at another, because it's another popular bundler. And it is Clive Cussler. So a bundle of 5 Clive Cussler paperbacks. We've got Floodtide, Ghost Ship, The Eye of Heaven, The Oracle, and Marauder. So again, Clive sells almost as well as Lee Child, but I tend to find a lot more Clive Cussler when I do Lee Child books, and those 5 sold for £12.99. So that's £3 a book. Buy 3 get 2 free, and then £3.99 in postage on top of that. So yeah, that'll do. Goals, targets for 2024, selling books on eBay. Where does it go? How does it go? How does it move forward? So first thing is I need to consider what I've got, where I'm at, and how the business is functioning. So just now I've got just under £30,000 worth of stock. That's sale value. Because of the way the offers work, and you know, buy 3 get 2 free, that's probably closer to £20,000 in real sales value. That's about 7,500 books, and it's making me an average profit of between £40 and £50 a day. So that's where I am at the moment. I've got messages coming through my phone. I've got 20 grand worth of stock, sales value, 7,500 books, and it takes up a big chunk of my spare room, as you may have seen if you've watched yesterday's video. So from that position, where do I want to go? So to turn this into anything that could be a full-time income, I've probably got to treble that, because trebling it will still not take up a full day. Quite confident of that at the moment. a couple of hours a day is kind of the max I'll spend doing anything on eBay. So by trebling that, I would increase the daily profit to about £150 a day, thereabouts. But to do that, I would need a lot more storage space, somewhere to work from. So to get that, I'm going to have to pay out for storage space, retail space, some sort of space. And once you're doing that, then you're obviously paying power, rates, all of these things on top of that. Your Wi-Fi, your broadband for wherever you are. There's a lot that gets added onto that. It would also mean paying out for storage and getting that additional stock, which, a few £1,000s at least to get to that stage. I've been browsing for months on what retail storage space would cost. Ideally, I would like something with a retail front, but plenty of storage in the back, so that there is the opportunity to tick out a few items just straight off the shelf. But it's finding the right location for that, which gets more expensive. From what I've looked at, you could be anything from £800 up to about £2,500 a month just to pay for the rent on such a place. And then let's say you've got rates, power, all these other things on top of that. So assuming it's going to be, again, this is just from a general look at the moment. I do need to dig into it a bit deeper when I'm getting closer to having enough money to do it, but could be talking, say, £1,500 a month just for that retail space. And if at the moment I'm doing £50 a day in profit, then I need to increase that just to cover the expense and the cost of having that space. Having that space would allow me to go more than 3 times over what I'm doing. And one of the key things in any kind of niche down retail environment is having a supply of product. So I know I can get 4 or 5 times as much every week than I currently do. That's, be able to go and pick that up. So I don't have to increase by 3, I can increase by 4 or 5, which would cover the expense of having that space, still be able to pay pretty much a kind of full-time salary, having a full-time income off the back of that, and the profits from the business still being there to continue expanding forward. The other things that I have to consider when looking at that is that to go out and pick up a lot more stock, that takes my time. So I then need somebody else manning the ship, as it were, so that there's somebody on site, especially if I do go down a retail front route, and have somebody else who's available to do listing, do picking and packing, and all of these wee bits and pieces, which would free me up to go out and pick up as much stock as possible. So that's an additional expense. So probably having to go 4 or 5 times what I am at the moment to just pay a fairly basic wage to myself and somebody else probably working part-time covering bits and pieces of that as well. So that's what I want to get done in 2024, selling books 4 to 5 times the size that I've got, and have somewhere to go and do all of that rather than it being out of the house. Not quite sure how to get there at the moment. Let's say there's investment required to do that, and it's thousands of pounds when you take into account what it would cost just to set up storage areas for the 7,000 odd books that I've got, never mind 20,000-30,000 books. That's a lot of shelving, which, although it's not massively expensive, all of these things do add up. So once I can work out how to get the cash flow going from what I've got to put aside a few £1,000s, then I can move on into that phase. At the moment, it's unrealistic because the cash flow's quite simply not there. What I want to do in the interim, and it's going to be a struggle because I'm really maxed out in space where I am at the moment, is try and get that 7,500 up to about 10,000 items in stock. So taking that 20,000 sales, available sales value, although it's 30, I'm counting at 20, getting that up to 30 to 35,000 pounds at the same time, and then that might generate enough excess that I can continue living off of rice and peas and get enough money aside over a few months to actually be able to take that next step and see where we go. There's another thing I'm looking to do, but I'm going to show you another couple of sales first. Is that alright? Cool. Next up, another bundle. This time it's Roald Dahl. We've got his Marvellous Joke Book, and then some of his more grown-up stories. Someone Like You, Switch Bitch, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, and Sweet Mystery of Life. So 5 Roald Dahl paperbacks, and they have sold for £11.94. Not sold many Roald Dahl lately, but as another author that does keep selling, so I keep buying. A wee mixed bundle. We have Sword Song by Bernard Cornwell, and then 2 Skullduggery Pleasant books. So we've got Kingdom of the Wicked and Dark Days. So they're both by Derek Landy. Again, Skullduggery Pleasant seems to sell quite well, but I don't see an awful lot of them. So when I do see them, I see them reasonably often, but they're usually absolutely destroyed. So I only pick them up when they're in good or better condition. And those 3 have sold for £9.99. So all well within that kind of popular sales value range. Right, next thing that I want to be doing with this business. So background first. When I started selling stuff on eBay as a reseller, I went out and I just picked up everything. I was watching all the videos that everybody watches. Chaddy Pete, Ricky Resells, that John Luke dude. All of them, they're all out there. Some of the American channels as well. The Commonwealth Picker, Hairy Tornado, American Arbitrage, the stuff that probably everybody else watches too. So seeing all the different things they were picking up gave us a wee bit of inspiration and insight, and I went out and I found a lot of good stuff. I did. Some good, really good high value bits and pieces. Some stuff that just sat and did nothing. I went onto the Vintage Warehouse websites and bought a couple of loads from them for really cheap. I got like 60 leather jackets for about 300 quid. They sold really well. I've still got about 15 of them sat up in the loft somewhere, but a lot of them sold for good money, and it was all very, very profitable. More profitable, I'll be honest, than just selling books, but it took an awful lot more time. So I was maybe making double the profit, but it was 3 times the effort. So it didn't, niching down made sense. The real reason I niched down though, well, obviously the first reason is that I like books and I find the process of them pretty straightforward, and I've got it, for my circumstances at the moment, I've got it fairly well nailed down. The second reason though is, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is once you niche down, then you're more likely to generate repeat customers and establish as a business. If all I've got is books, then that process is much easier to show to somebody else and have people working for you and doing these things, which means that essentially this could be set up and I can step away from it almost completely, and the business would run and earn a profit. That's the dream, isn't it? Having an income where you don't actually have to put in all the hours to achieve it. So looking at all the other things that I've sold in the past, what I want to identify next is another niche. So I've already got a new eBay account set up, and I'm looking for the niche to put into that account. I don't know what it is yet. There's things that I know sell well, but I'm not interested in selling. A lot of the different clothing categories. I just find them a bit of a royal pain in the backside. I might consider jeans. T-shirts I'd be quite happy to do, but getting a good supply of the quality stuff people are looking for, I'm not confident that I'd be able to get that supply at the moment. Jeans, I probably could, but there's going to be a lot of low value stuff in there, and low value I find is fine with books, but once you're moving on to anything else, then because I'm set up with VAT, and if you want to make any real money, you need to be set up with VAT, because otherwise it very much limits what your total potential income is. Then if you're selling a pair of jeans for a tenner, if you've paid £2 for them, you've picked them up at the charity shop, so you're not getting any VAT back from the purchase price. And if you sell them for a tenner, a couple of quid of that is going to go to the VAT man, which actually means you're only getting £8, and then you're going to have your £3-4 in shipping costs, so that's taking you down to about £4. They cost you £2 to buy, so you're down to £2, and eBay are going to take that in fees. So basically you would be churning that over just to break even. So you need to think very carefully about what that next that next niche might be. There's other small media that I can get easy, very cheap supply of, CDs, DVDs. That might sit better just within the niche I have at the moment, the books, adding more and more of those to that, or there might be value in exploring that on its own, but I need to test these markets, and that requires time and investment to do so. Other things that kind of interest me, vintage toys. I'd love to just sell vintage toys. You get a big stack of boxes, lots of packaging material, and just keep your eyes peeled for the right things at the right time. But is there a ready supply that I can get my hands on to justify putting in the effort? And it's again something that can be turned into a business that others can essentially run for me. Anything where you're getting into real specialties, you have to develop an expertise, which is what I would need to do, and that is the harder bit to pass on for somebody else to pick up and run with, so that they're doing what you need them to do to keep making a profit. So I'm thinking really hard about potential niches. Other areas that I've had quite a lot of success with in the past, and there's a reasonably ready supply, would be mugs and cups. So there's a lot of places you can pick them up for 10p, 20p, 50p, and there's a lot of them that will sell for 5, 10, 15 pounds. So better margins than a £2 pair of jeans selling for a tenner. But again, is it a viable model to niche down on its own? So I'm thinking really, really hard about what that next niche could be. If anybody's got any thoughts on that, any of these things that I've mentioned, the pros, the cons on any of them, it would be great to hear opinions, and I can start deciding what I'm going to do next with that part of it. So it would be part of the same business, but a completely separate account, so that if people are looking for that type of item, they will go back to that store to be able to buy repeatedly as such. So that's kind of where I want to go this year. Some sort of storage or retail outlet to get all the books in. Once that space is available, then I can start looking at these additional niches more seriously. At the moment, when I'm out and about, I'll probably go and see if there's some bits and pieces I can pick up and test them out. See how they sell, see how they work, and run it on from there. But there's definitely a lot of value in niching down, but you can do that multiple times. You don't have to have one niche. You could have 20 niches, but keep them insulated, separate from each other, so that they can, turn them into real relevant business opportunities. So yeah, that's the plans. If I can come up with a few grand, I can get moving with all of that as it goes. Until we get there, I'm going to try and add about another 25-30% in value and quantity, value and volume to what I've currently got, and see if that gives us enough of a lift to be able to generate the income to do the next step. Other parts of the business is potentially looking at things like house clearances. I've done a wee bit of that in the past. In fact, that's how all of this really started, but I've done a bit of that in the past. I'm looking at what's possible to do that moving forward again, but again, it's going to require space. You know, it's capital investment to do that is not an issue, because you can rent a van. All you need to do is pay for a couple of wee local licenses depending on where you live, and you can go ahead and get that bit done. But it requires significant space to be able to take everything on, work through it, recycle what you don't want, and sell on what you do. YouTube, I'm loving doing these videos. I really am. And it seems that there's at least a few folk out there who are watching on a regular basis. We're at about 850 subscribers, which is, you know, insane, and I never expected there to be any real traction with these videos at all, so that's been absolutely phenomenal. If I can get to 1,000, then, well, I don't know if YouTube are showing ads on these videos or not. I don't know. But if they are, then I want my 26 pence a day in revenue from that. So that would be another £3 or £4 a month that would go towards expanding what I'm able to do with these. Just now, very limited technologically wise. I've got an old GoPro that holds a battery for a few minutes at a time. I've got a wee Chrome laptop, which is all I've got to make these. So it would be great to be able to take this to the next level. But again, all of these things cost money, and this is not a profit generating enterprise. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. It's just something I like to do. So I would love to get somewhere where, you know, if we can hit 1,000 subscribers. So anyone who's watching who isn't subscribed, even if you never want to watch these again, hit the subscribe button. You know, just hit it. Let's get to 1,000. I can start getting my pennies from YouTube every other month. And if I can get to that point, then that gives me something to maybe invest back into doing these videos, get some lighting that doesn't involve this thing acting like a ridiculous spotlight, maybe some slightly better camera, sound equipment, but that's far from a priority. I'm just really enjoying doing these videos, and we can see where else they go. Yeah, so that's kind of the plans for the next year. Nothing ridiculously complicated, pretty straightforward. Just keep scaling up until it gets to a point where I can step away and kind of let it run itself. But we've got another two orders to show you very quickly, and then you can get on with your day. So next one up is another stack. This time it's Joe Nesbo. Haven't sold many Joe Nesbo for a wee while, but there's 5 going out today. We've got the Jealousy Man, the Redeemer, Cockroaches, Police, and Phantom. So 5 Joe Nesbo paperbacks, and they sold for £12.99. Last, one more bundle. Lee Child again, but this time it's 4 hardcovers. So Blue Moon, Worth Dying For, Never Go Back, and The Midnight Line. So the 4 of them sold for £16.45. So it's about £3 more than selling a bundle of 5 paperbacks, but it's going to be about £3 more to post them. So I charge a wee bit more for the hardcovers, but that does just cover the difference in postage so that I can still afford to get them out. And that's the orders for the day. Another pretty slow day. It's kept my average sales for the month so far at around about £150 a day. That's including postage. So that's where I work out my average profits for the business. From that, a third in postage, a third in eBay, a third back into the business. And that's it. Anyway, I hope some of that has been of interest and it's not just been a bit dull, me talking about what I would love to do. Was there anything else I wanted to share with you today? There was, and I can't remember what it was. Wait a minute, let me just quickly check the comments from the other day and see if that reminds me. No. Nah, no idea. Who knows? Must have been something. It'll come back to me as soon as I step out the door later on. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the continued support. Those of you who are going on and buying books from my eBay store, absolutely brilliant. Thanks very much again. If you do, remember, you leave a wee note when you buy something, just so I know it was a watcher or a subscriber, and I can give you a wee shout out when we go through the sales on that day. Alright, love you. See ya. Bye.